Hey guys, I'm Kayla,
And I'm Rob.
and we are the Dusty Treasure Hunters. Today we are at Peoria State Hospital Museum here in Bartonville, Illinois. Peoria State Hospital, or known to locals as the Bartonville Insane Asylum, was open from 1909 until 1973. We're going to take you on a virtual tour of the Peoria State Hospital Museum today.
So we actually used the colored glass for different things. We had a amber yellow solarium, we had a violet purple solarium, we had an opal solarium, and then we also did have a ruby red solarium. And so what each of them did was very different. So the red would normally do energizing, the violet purple would give you more of that calming, soothing. I can't really recall what the yellow was used for, but how would you say the opal was more for clarification and everything. And when you entered these buildings, you dressed in red robes, everything was red, the glass was red, the lights were red. So even at night, you just had these giant glowing buildings that were just these beautiful, beautiful colors that were all over the solariums. Before that, after the solariums was there, it was a tech colony. It was very interesting to see the innovation they did for tuberculosis and the fact that with Dr. Zeller's thought of color therapy, they use it still nowadays. Like I said, nursing homes where they have activity rooms that are just full of colored lights and colored cords just to keep movement and just energizes people. It's a clarification kind of thing.
Absolutely. That's very interesting. Thank you so much for sharing that.
that building is
So when was this building actually built?
This was built in '64. It was built after the Woman Hall had their disaster with fire and the wall collapsed. They actually weren't supposed to rebuild the whole building. They were supposed to fix the wall, but they got a little extra money and they decided that they were just going to tear down the Woman Hall and rebuild the whole entire thing. This isn't a picture of what it was. This is just a model. They didn't actually feed to that. The ground wasn't level enough for them to put down the sidewalks and everything and the extra walls. But this is actually the back wall of the building you're in right now. It's actually very interesting how they did it. They wanted it to look kind of like a Japanese gateway, so that's why they curved the roofs. They wanted it very airy, so each building had very open rooms. The walls that you see now in here were not here. It was all open. It was all cubbies, and then each end wall was 5 giant windows, and they had the side windows also. So they were broken out over years because this was just a playground in the 80s for the kids to come and party and everything, so they shut the windows.
Wow.
I'm hoping that when we have enough money to fix our windows, that we'll be able to open them up and see that the windows aren't actually broken, that they just covered them because there's just so much light coming here. But we want that natural light because it naturally warms the buildings. They were all about, how would you say, conserving energy. So whatever backup energy there was for the power that they actually built, because we were one of the first buildings actually to have power, the Bell building, that's what enticed all the nurses to come, was how innovative we were. We were the first buildings to have electricity. We had carpet, we had running water, plumbing, steam heat. The steam heat was actually created from the power, so we would actually revert it to heat our buildings. All the sidewalks would clear themselves in the wintertime because there's 3 miles of tunnels, steam pipe tunnels, underneath all of our sidewalks. You still technically can get in there. It's a little hard to get in there, and it's very, very gross. I don't want to go in the tunnels because most of them are blocked off and there's a lot of asbestos in there. We do venture down there to see what is down there and make sure we do pictures and everything. The roads are on top of these tunnels. They could collapse, and they are slowly disintegrating over time and time because they flood and everything. They're not taken care of very well. But it's very interesting to know that there's different things. Like this was all together 63 buildings, 18 gardens, and on top of it, you had 4 slams, like I said. We had an educational ward, activities ward, we had gymnasiums, we had all different kinds of things. We had your own general store where you worked. Dr. Zeller believed that even though you were considered insane, you still needed to work an 8-hour work shift. So they did their own gardening, they did their own clothes, they made everything. They were so self-efficient, it was very crazy. There was a train system that would drop off patients. He wanted the worst of the worst. He didn't want just someone that was being taken care of. He wanted the worst cases possible. Later years, he did accept anyone and everyone, but the worst cases possible, he would accept. And so there was a train system below the hill before there was Pfeiffer. That was a ravine back in the day. There was a staircase which is still there. You can't really get to it. You can from the bottom of the hill. So if you go up that little slant that has like a metal wall, you can actually go up into the woods, and there's the original staircase that led to the Peoria State Hospital. It's very interesting to know that all the way underneath here, our courtyard is completely open underneath. It was the way these buildings are built, the roof system actually had drainage that went through our pipes and got into gravel beds. They didn't understand that. There was innovation back in the day. They didn't understand that one pipe could clog the system. So when they opened back up the buildings and everything after it had been closed from nesting, from birds and everything, the pipes had been clogged. So they didn't understand that the piping went down underneath the buildings to direct the water away from the buildings. So they clogged the pipes and then redirected the water out of the buildings instead. So it causes a lot of water damage. So we have to constantly repair what is being destroyed, which is our courtyard and everything. So it's interesting.
Wow, that's a lot of work to maintain.
Yes. We have I think altogether there's technically 3 bunkers on grounds of the Peoria State Hospital. One is actually underneath our courtyard. It's a whole entire bunker. It's
Wow.
very interesting. Yes. Back in the day, it used to be full of water because there was, like I said, it used to drain and everything. While the system clogged, it started filling up our basements and everything. People used to actually in the 80s swim down inside that.
Oh, wow!
That's sewage, technically. Yeah.
Wow.
They used to go swim down.
I would not do that.
No, I would not.
Yeah. Yeah, no thanks.
It's so interesting what movie stigma has said about asylums compared to what we were. Completely different. We weren't the whole lock you in a building and put you away. We were a cottage system. We were a community. We were our own town. It was very interesting to figure that all out. There's so much more to it than just chains and restraints. And
most common things we find. Dr. Zeller wanted us very late into his years, when other people are already using disposable pens. He believed that the old ink was the best way to keep records. So we have lots and lots of the old inkwells.
If you didn't say that, if I see those bottles, I don't even know what they are.
Yes, above the inkwells are Pond's jars. Now that's all makeup. Above that are nail polish and perfume, because the commissary here on the hilltop held all of those things. Because, you know, a woman has to have her Pond's cream and her nail polish. In the other room, we have jewelry. All of those things were available here on the hilltop. Again, just like a man having a full suit of clothing, you take away a woman's dignity if she can't curl her hair and wear her makeup and wear her jewelry. And that's why Dr. Zeller made sure that they were able to get those things here on the hilltop. So everything they needed was part of this village, right down to even their own bedding was all made here on the hilltop. Bedding, shoes, mattresses, everything they needed. Dr. Zeller wanted to make sure that his village was inclusive. So they grew their own food, they provided their own meat. Every single cottage had its own chicken coop, because you learn about life and death when you raise chickens. So Zeller was a very amazing man. He had a lot of interesting ways of treating the people that were under him. If you did see our buildings over there, that we've got miniatures going. Eventually we'll have this miniature here all done, so that it will be added to our 3D map of the hilltop.
How the buildings used to look.
Wonderful.
And then this is why you're here, Julie, this over here.
Yeah.
Very awesome. And they got shoe polish and food jars, milk, perfume.
Ooh, look at that. It's like a hat box.
Flower frog. They got. There's an Arcana up there.
Look at that talc bottle.
That's so cool.
Very cool. What is that, an Arcana back there? No, where's the Arcana hidden back there?
They got this one here is what was his name? The Dyspepsia Destroyer.
Oh, yes. Yep. And there's one that says Peoria on the bottom there. We like to find those.
Turn this into Peoria Meyer Brewing Company. Brewing. So neat.
Some broken milk bottles, some other artifacts. Very cool. Oh, look at that straight-sided Coke, that poor thing. Poor thing didn't make it.
That one didn't make it.
Those straight-sided Cokes are hard to find today. There's a knee-high. Knee-high was a popular beverage 100 years ago or so. Very cool.
We do crafts in here, we bring them out there.
We know how it is. Our basement looks very similar.
Yeah, it does.
Drink bottles. Yeah.
Very awesome. We appreciate you guys letting us back here.
Yeah, no, we heard that you're a bottle hunter.